G'day, Scotty here from the Oak Barrel to have a look at another new whiskey that's just landed on the desk here in the brand new packaging that we've just seen in the past few months hit Australia from our friends at Westward in Portland, Oregon. Now, this one is a little bit special. It's a single barrel selection in a collaboration with the Bridgeport brewery. So let's roll back a little bit. Westward, obviously, as I mentioned, from Portland, Oregon, a part of America that's like really well known for its booming craft beer industry. It's almost like Australia is now. Portland was about 10 years ago, with breweries popping up everywhere. And what I love about distilleries that have attached themselves to this sort of culture is, with brewing, it's all about fermentation. And that's such a big part of making whiskey. You know, obviously distillation and barrels play a huge role as well, but the brewing and fermentation is a really big part. And I think that's really interesting in some of the ways that Westwood do their whiskies, but also in collaborations like this. So Bridgeport actually closed in 2017, so it's not a brewery that's around anymore. And this particular whiskey was distilled in March 2016, so it dates back to a previous era, and obviously there's not a huge amount of it left. But we'll look at just the specs before we jump into it. American 2 malts whiskey, so it's 68% malted barley and 32% malted rye. So it's based on the old Bridgeport Kingpin Red Ale, which is something we used to have in the store back in the day. So aged for 4 years and 2 months and bottled at 100 proof. So no, that's incorrect. That is wrong because it's 90 proof, 45%. Thank you to the guys at Westwood for giving me a sample. We'll crack into this now and see what we reckon. So, bit of a fan of the Westwood stuff in general. It's often goes into virgin oak like a bourbon, but their core range is a single malt, so malted barley, and then they do these 2 malts releases. They've played with wheat and all sorts of stuff, but yeah, this has got that rye influence. It's a little bit nutty on the nose, a little bit hazelnutty, I think, but bits of vanilla, and then lots of rich sort of cereal notes. There's not a lot of oak influence, but it's that rye is certainly giving it a bit of lift and a bit of oomph to it. It's quite aromatic, but it's very much still Westwood. It's not miles away from their other releases that we've seen, but still different. But it's still got that DNA that from the distillery. Interesting sort of palate structure. Leads in from the nose. You think it's going to be a little bit bigger. It leads in a little bit narrow and then broadens right out as it hits your palate. That richness of the rye is coming to you. There's a bit of like old citrus, day old citrus peels from your gin and tonic garnish the night before sort of thing. Then it leads into this sweet, like a, I think someone mentioned pear in one of the notes before, and I'm getting a little bit of that. It's very much a like the beer element of this is really taking a big stage, like particularly on that palate into finish. There's a lot going on there, I think, from what the brew itself, that Kingpin Red Ale, would have had to say. Unfortunately, I can't get one of the red ales to put alongside it because the brewery doesn't exist anymore. Yeah, that tropical fruit, a little bit dusty towards the end. Yeah, it's sort of like overripe pear and that sort of thing. I was going to open a bottle. I've got a sample bottle for that to have another dig at this. Finish is good. There's a bit more of that pepper spice at the end there. But yeah, another really interesting, fascinating little creation and thoroughly enjoyable from the guys at Westwood. As I say, not a lot of this available. The bottle I've got in my hands here is bottle number 793. I don't know how much there was, but in 45%, probably in quite I don't know the size of the barrel, quite a big sort of size. You're probably looking at around that 800-900 bottles in the run. So not a huge amount. I know far less of it came to Australia. Going back, there's more of the barley notes coming through on my what is now my third pass through. But yeah, excellent little whiskey. I'm going to sit on this for a little bit longer, But we've got a very small allocation of this, which is on the store right now. But yeah, another chapter in the ever-evolving story of Westward, which we're fascinated to be a part of and follow.